Once you have the MIDI connection established between the iMac and the iPad, you're going to want to also add communication actions. A communication action lets you transmit a MIDI note from ProPresenter to Luminaire, which is what actually triggers that lighting scene. So a lot of documents will have the communication action cues on them already. For example, the pre-service slides right here already have a communication action. You can see the antenna with the waves going out from it. That means there's a communication action on it. And if you click on the slide, you should see the lights change with it, assuming that you've set up the connection like we talked about in the last video. If the lights don't come up with the slide, you may want to go back through the previous video and make sure that the MIDI connection is correctly configured how we talk about there. Typically, the only communication cues you'll have to set up prior to a service are on the first song of set 1 and the first song of set 2. So I'm going to show you how to do that right here with Grace on top of Grace. So I'm going to right click on the slide, and then I'm going to go down to Add Action. I'm going to go to Communication, and then Luminaire, and MIDI Note On. That'll open up a pop-up window here with a couple different menus. Most of these you don't need to worry about. The main ones are Note and Intensity. Note is actually going to select the scene that is triggered on the iPad. The main value you're worried about here is the number in parentheses. You can disregard the musical notation. We don't need that. We're just worried about the number in parentheses. You'll notice inside Luminaire on the iPad, there's also a number in parentheses next to each set. So for set 1, I see the number 1 in parentheses. So I'm going to click on this drop-down menu, and then I'm going to choose the same number that's in parentheses here, disregarding the musical notation. And then for intensity, we're always going to want a value of 1. I'm going to hit done, and then click on the slide to test it. And if the lights change, that means you've done it correctly. The other thing to keep an eye out for is songs that have extra communication cues on them that you don't want. So you're only going to want one communication cue on the first song of set 1 and the first song of set 2. So I'm going to look through the other songs here. It Is Finished has no communication cues. I can tell quickly by glancing at it, seeing if it has that antenna with the waves icon on it. If it doesn't, that means there's no communication cue. I'm going to keep looking. Yet Not I does not have a communication cue on it, so we're good there. And then You Cannot Be Stopped. I will need a communication cue on it, but on this one you can see there's actually 2 on there. So I don't know what those are doing, but I can figure it out by right-clicking and hitting Edit Actions and then just selecting either one. So this one is triggering the correct scene. I can tell because under this note box right here, it has the number 6 in parentheses, and that's the same number I see on my iPad here. And intensity is 1, as it should be. So I can hit done because I know that's the right thing. And then I'm going to edit the other one. And it looks like it's actually doing the same thing. So we're going to be better off removing one of these here because it's a duplicate. It's sending the same note twice, which isn't necessarily going to hurt anything, but it's just better to only have one note on there so you're triggering the scene once instead of sending it twice.